Sup Shredders, my name is Logan, aka Spiderhands, and welcome to SP Reviews, where today we're going to be checking out a track from an act named Clay Joule titled Oh Dream. And if we switch over to here, we have it on Spotify. We're going to listen through this track from start till finish. And we're going to hear what we think. Let's go. Oh, slick. Nice mix with the combination of acoustic analog elements here. Guitars, bass, drums. Great voicing with that lead line here and on the guitar as well. Nice, we're going up the octaves as well. Great exploration there. Should I say actually Clay Joule and True One Studio. Okay, nice vibrato there, that's cool. There was an interesting choice there. There was some interesting strummed guitars there on the sides. I'm not sure if that was... Yeah, good job for recording that kit. I like the tone of it. It's an interesting room that you've got it in, but I think it works. But Nightbrokers are nice and bright and contrast well with it. I like a song about dreams, you know. It's good to hear someone's inner workings and help, you know, hear them elaborating further on that. Then a 16th note hi-hats here that come in this part of the bridge, I assume, is a really nice way to build up the tension in time for that hook. I like that we have that release on the hook as well. It's a great manipulation of the different energy levels that are perceptible and present within the mix. Again, that smack there, that slap, that bap and bomb bap, dude. Nice. I like the punchiness there. You need to have a little bit of behind that kit, even if you've got to feel they're smooth sounding. It's an impressive guitar solo. Great modulation there, those major triads there, and that sweep section. Nice, and the soloing was great as well. It's not just tapping, but also when you tap and you like slide that, that's a very difficult thing to do. The guy can play the guitar. And great switch up with the dynamic range here as well. I mean, it's a common thing in music to have a break after a heavy section, but Was there a bit of phasing in that kit then? Just for that fill. Okay, some kind of high frequency resonance there. No Dream by Clay Joule. Because this is my review. My review of this track. And we're going to do a conclusion now, because this is the conclusion, right? What was the song about? What was O Dream about? On a first listen basis, my interpretation of what the song was about was, it was about a person who is trying to understand their dreams. And I mean, we talked about like puzzles and like the mailman and whether they actually come to deliver or not, trying to figure out or ascertain what's real and what's not. I get the impression that it's someone that's just trying to figure out their inner workings or their belief system and what they really want out of life and what they want to work towards. I can see someone crossing over a bridge in the album art, so I can only assume it's someone taking a leap of faith and wondering how to move forward together in future in a way that's the most beneficial. Dreams can be confusing, and it's a struggle to know whether or not they're real. But I think O Dream is a good track. I mean, the story so far is really fascinating. I haven't really heard many songs like this, so kudos to Clay Joule for that. So just as like, I guess a slight amendment to what I thought the song was about initially, because I try to just go into these tracks with a first person listen, like someone who's unfamiliar with the context of a song, what it is. I try to understand it. I've had a look at the YouTube video and you can see here literally this is about the war in Ukraine, With every passing day, the fight for freedom taking place in Ukraine gets more and more intense. Ukrainians all around the country giving up their lives to protect the human rights against the terror of the Russian army in their struggle has inspired the world to band together in staunch support of Ukraine. O Dream singer-songwriters among those who have been touched watching this incredible struggle, finding inspiration and wanting to spread the support for the Ukrainian dreams of peace. Featuring the plight of Ukrainians, the song is part of a movement called Fight for Freedom that the artist hopes will bring more support for Ukraine in their pursuit of justice. So that's just something to bear in mind with this song. I just figured it's worth mentioning as it's quite different than what I thought it was initially. I suppose I was thinking of a dream for peace or something like that. But there's a clarification. Anyways, going back to the review now. The vocals were great. I think they did sit well in the mix. I liked the bits of vibrato and ornamentation there, some legato passages. I liked how effortlessly we went between our head and our chest voice. Enjoyed some of the vocal melodies that we had there and how we not only knew to create interesting melodic sequences, but that we also repeated them. We didn't just have it once and then just kind of abandon it. It's really important to have clear, distinct vocal sections. You can have different tails on them, but if you switch up the main sort of concepts too much, people will get confused and lose a sense of self, unless you're deliberately going for a through composed progressive kind of feel, of course. Additional to that, I think the structure of the track was really splendid. I think that it was interesting to have these instrumental sections in the solo parts as well as the verse, the bridges, and the chorus. There was lots to keep us entertained and interested within this 4 minutes 15. The length of the song is longer than the 2 to 4 minute mark for singles, but you can see here that we've released quite a few songs. And it's good to hear that Clay Joule is getting a bit of attention for his music. You can see the 26,000 plays. That may not seem like a lot when you compare it to like huge major label artists, but when you're at that sort of independent level, and that's not me being disparaging. Independent record labels are a force to be reckoned with nowadays. You establish yourself a niche in the industry and you can do well. You can do really well. I think that's really good. So well done on that attention there. The instrumental performances there, they were pretty good for the most part. The guitar sections were excellent. Like the voicing of that lead solo at the end, we had a few hints that we could shred earlier on, but like it really came into play with the tapping and sweeps later on. The bass parts were definitely there. They were foundational and more centered around the root notes. There were some cool fills on the drums, but we typically kept the groove there. Most of the grooves came through really well. It sounded like we had a little bit of distortion in some of the drum mics with some of those fills. Like maybe they were a little bit too hot on the channels, but that's just because I heard a bit of distortion there that made it could have potentially been a deliberate stylistic choice there. So I suppose that would be an interesting choice to make, but it's a valid one regardless. It's cool to mess with drum sounds. Yeah, and when you couple it with his voice, I think that there were a nice combination of elements that had a great chemistry together and made musical sense. When you look at that main theme, you had like 3-4 chord progressions for each of the parts. I think it's a very common chord progression we had in the chorus, but it works well for really kind of wholesome, kind of friendly, welcoming tone there. The production, recording, mixing, and mastering, it was good. It was good. I think the vocals were recorded really well. They came through in the mix. The drums, I could tell they were room recorded, and I'm really happy that we are doing drum recordings in a room. It may be worth just re-examining the overhead mics we're using, just doing a little more sort of like high and mids in there, because it sounded like some of the toms and kicks were a little bit, like they were a little bit bottom heavy. But aside from that, it's fine. The bass, the guitar parts were splendid. And I don't mean to sound like I'm being necessarily critical about the drums. I don't think they sounded bad. They just sounded like, they definitely sounded like they were recorded in a room where there might have been some sort of like resonances or something like that. And especially nowadays when you've got people using like guitar and bass plugins, you know, where they don't have that issue, you've just got to try and find the way to sort of connect the tone of the acoustically recorded drums, because you can't really emulate acoustic drums. You just can't. You know, people say they can with drum samples. You can't. There's too much nuance there. EQing for EQing for the most part was really good. The overall EQing of the mix bus was good. Although I still feel there may have been some low mid recencies there that we could have potentially notched out if in post for like an album or something. I also really enjoyed the stereo panning instruments. The limiting compression was good. It wasn't. I mean, like there was a little bit of distortion or fuzz going on in parts where things got a bit hot. But I think there might have been like a mix stage thing where like the initial recordings were a bit hot. Because like the gain staging with the master chain sounded good. Aside from that, I'm really happy with it. You know, quite a positive review for me for O-Dream for Clay Joule. So best of luck to Clay Joule in future. And thank you very much for watching this review of O-Dream by Clay Joule. Hopefully you enjoyed it. If you did, please do go show Clay Joule some love via his various social medias and Spotify. And stay cool and stay safe, and please remember to support your local musicians and artists at this point in time. As either hell more than ever with all the crazy stuff going on in the world, and I will catch you in the next review. Spider hands up.